Okay, today I wanted to review with you all how to solve round trip travel problems. For these problems, we're still working with the notion that distance is equal to rate times time, just like with the same direction travel problems. The difference between these is how we're going to set up our let statement for the time. So let's get started. A boat left the dock and traveled to an island at a rate of 20 miles per hour. The boat returned to the dock at a rate of 30 miles per hour. The total trip took 2 hours. How long did it take to get to the island? So just like yesterday, we're going to start by setting up a table. Our table is a little bit different because we've got one vehicle, a boat here, that's traveling to a location and back from the location. So I typically set it up to show to and from. It looks kind of like a greeting card. Then we know we want to set up our rate, our time, and our distance. And this is where we're going to pull information right from the problem. So I know that to get to the island, the boat traveled at a rate of 20 miles per hour. To get back from the island, the boat traveled at a rate of 30 miles per hour. I'm going to call my unknown variable t. Here's the difference. Since the trip took 2 hours total, we know the total length of time that the trip took. We're going to label this 2 minus t. It's different from same direction. In same direction, we were doing t and t minus 2 because the person was leaving 2 hours later. This is different because we already know the total travel time, and since we know the total travel time, we can include that as part of our table. Now we know that since distance is equal to rate times time, 20 times t, 20t gives us our distance to the island. 30 times the quantity of 2 minus t gives us our distance back from the island. Again, we got that because distance is equal to rate times time. Now we're ready for the equation. In the equation, here's what we know. The distance to the island is the exact same distance back from the island. When you're talking round trip, the two distances are equal, and for that reason, these are very much like what we did yesterday in same direction travel problems. All I'm doing is showing that the distance to the island, 20t, is equal to the distance back from the island, which is 30 times the quantity of 2 minus t. The rest of this should be pretty easy. We know that we're going to simplify. 20t is equal to 60 minus 30t. We want to gather our variables together on the same side. So we're going to add 30t to both sides, and I'm left with 50t is equal to 60. We're going to isolate the variable, divide both sides by 50. T is equal to 60 50ths, which I'm going to think of as 6/5. And since we're talking about time, I'm going to call 1 and 1/5, or I'm even okay with calling it 1.2. You know that immediately after this, I like to solve for the second variable, even though the question doesn't ask how long it took to get back. I always like to know that if if t is 1 and 1/5, then 2 minus t must be 4/5. And I need that information mainly just for my check. Now, the check, once again, we already know what t is. We already know what 2 minus t is. So my check is going to be rate of 20 times t, which is 1 and 1/5, is equal to a rate of 30. I've already done the math. 2 minus t is 4/5. I know that 20 times 6/5 should equal 30 times 4/5. I'm going to simplify, and I'm left with 24. I'm going to simplify, and I'm left with 24. So it checks. And finally, I need to answer the question. The question asked, if the trip took 2 hours total, how long did it take to get to the island? Since we're talking about to the island, I'm looking back at what I solved or what I answered for t, And I know that t is equal to 1 1/5, so I'm going to write it took 1 1/5 hours, if you want to convert that, or 1 hour, 12 minutes, which you don't need to do, to get there. And there's my answer. All right. The main thing to take away from this is, I should say, the part of it that I think people find to be most confusing is how we label the variable when we're talking about round trips. So the difference is, because we're given the total number of hours, we have to label as 2 minus t. Hopefully this will be helpful, and that's all I've got for today.